welcome to another episode of Insufficient Friends. I'm Kevin, she's Nikki.
Hi.
And Nick, I would ask you how your week has been, but we're recording this the same day that we recorded last week's.
Yep.
Like, literally, it's been 20 minutes since we just got done talking to Aunt Cindy. So,
we're double recording.
Yeah, so we're not...
yeah, you're going to be working next week, insanely long hours, and we're going to be moving.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
It happened at the last minute, but... So, the next time everyone sees me may or may not be on Zoom. I don't know. I think. Probably.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see what it is.
Yeah.
We've done some Zoom upgrades, which she... There's a new monitor that's sitting on this desk to help us be able to see people in the Zooms.
Yeah.
It's right under these cameras that you're not looking at. And it's twice the size of my normal computer, and she walked in and didn't even realize it.
Okay, I'm not observant. Unless I am alone, like in a parking lot or something, I'm like head on a swivel.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm so observant elsewhere when I walk into like a safe place, like your apartment or my home or whatever. I'm like, dead to the world. I'm done. I'm done being observant for the day. But as soon as I step out that door, I make note of everyone and everyone I see and my car and, you know.
Well, because you have to, because you don't know what crazies are out there.
Yeah, exactly. So, sorry I didn't notice your new computer monitor.
Oh, I don't care. I just thought it was funny.
It is massive.
You looked right at it and looked at your aunt on here and like you looked right at her on the screen.
I even waved.
and you started making a comment like, "Is my computer going to fit on your desk? Like, we got to have your computer there so we can see each other." I'm like, did you not notice this massive screen that's just here?
The answer is no. No, I did not.
Oh,
Anyways. I feel like I say that a lot.
We do.
But it's get off topic, and I'm like, all right.
You know, it is.
But I do it to myself. So.
Yeah. But did you? We did a couple shout outs for last week because we actually had people comment. But you noticed a different one in the last 20 minutes.
So I also wanted to shout out some likes that we had on some of our reels. Nick, thank you for liking one of our reels, and Sophie as well. So thanks, Nick and Soph.
Yes.
Shout out to you guys.
Shout out to you guys. They've all been on here, so you know that's well.
They are insufficient friends.
They are constantly insufficient friends, and thank all of you guys. By the way, we're now up to 54 subscribers, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome for us.
And we've had. I saw the other day the podcast has gotten 2,500 downloads.
That's awesome.
And we've had over 10,000 views on YouTube now. So
that's cool. Is that inclusive of like reels and?
I think that includes. I'm pretty sure that includes shorts.
That's cool.
Because there's no way our actual podcast.
And at the end of the day, like I think we would be doing this if we had 0 listeners, just because it's a really fun hobby.
Yeah, we enjoy doing this.
But it's nice, like cool. We hit
that you
50
guys are,
people.
Yeah, that you guys like it, or somebody is watching it and somewhat enjoys it. But if you're new, welcome. We're just a podcast about nothing, and we just talk about whatever we want to. This week, that is the Olympics.
Yep.
I enjoy watching the Olympics. It's something that always comes around every, well, it's every 2 years or something. But each set of games
between summer and winter.
Yeah, between summer and winter, it's every 1.5 years to 2.5 years, depending on which one you're going from and to. But
so my stupid question that I was going to ask you before we started recording, and I was like, I'm just going to save all my questions for when we're actually recording. Are the Olympics happening now? Is this why you chose this topic?
Yes.
Okay, that
so
answers
we're
that.
recording.
I didn't know when they happened.
We're recording it Friday. It is the 19th currently,
and they're going on right now.
No, they're not going on yet.
Oh,
they
when
open.
We release it?
They open on the 20. I think they open in they open in 6 days.
Okay.
The 26th is when the opening ceremony.
I figured that's why you chose this.
Yeah, I thought about it the other day because I was like, this would be something interesting. I didn't at the time when I was thinking about it realize that you have absolutely 0 interest in the Olympics. But
I have what I was going to say 1% interest. I actually did a ton of reading for today on the background and like the origins and history of the Olympics.
Okay.
Now, do I care at all about watching it? No.
Yeah.
Except for softball, that's it, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But No, I literally have zero interest in anything else. But I think the origins are cool. So I have a lot on like the origins and the history, and then the demise until the modern day and that type of stuff.
Well, let's start with that because obviously, history. We're both history people, and it'll get us to where we're at now.
So the history of the games, at least the spoken history, the only written history began around 776 BCE, which is a massively long time ago. But there's like legends and myths and
2,700 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Going back like 3,000 years.
Yeah.
There's tales and myths and things because a lot of the Olympic Games, it's not necessarily historical records, it's myths because a lot of it started from like Heracles, the son of Zeus. Mm-hmm. They had games to honor them, and so a lot of it is like spoken. But the actual, and this is from the Olympics website, they said
our facts are accurate this time.
Yeah, hopefully. You would hope so. The day of 776 BC is what's cited in written sources.
Okay.
So still a massively long time ago.
This is Greek. This is Athens, like the original, like
the original Greek games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
by the way, I one thing I know we talk about, and this is a tangent. We'll do this all the time if you're new here. We talk about years as like 700 BC.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So when we count backwards, we count, AD BC is 0, and then everything goes up, outwards in directions.
Yeah.
So the farther back we go, the higher the number gets. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing they didn't count down in the years that they were going.
No, that's definitely, I would assume, the modern way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Because also, Christianity is not however many years old.
Yeah.
Because it's more modern day with the Bible, and I'm not a religious scholar.
Is that where it comes from? Is it religion? Is that because I've never really?
It's before Christ and after death, right?
Well, I don't think that's what it actually stands for, but
I don't know.
That's what it's used as a lot of times, but I don't know if that's actually what it stands for.
Look it up. I was assuming that's what it was, and I just assumed that was our modern way of putting a timeline to things.
Maybe it is.
Let me see. What does BC and AD mean? AD stands for Anno Domini, Latin for in the year of the Lord, while BC stands for before Christ. So
okay, yeah. So I guess it does. Okay.
So that's definitely the modern.
Yeah.
Because in the grand scheme of things, Christianity is modern.
Yeah.
So that's definitely like our timeline put onto these things, I would assume.
Yeah, that would be
interpreting
correct.
That, right?
Probably, yeah. So I wonder, well, I mean, they had other calendars.
776 BC is what the Olympic website says is like the first written citation, basically. Everything before that was legend, oral history, stuff like that with the Greek gods and all that stuff.
Yeah, okay.
So that's like the original origins. Now, there's different reasonings for like how the games officially came about. A lot of it's mixed up with mythology, honoring the gods, having different competitions. Mm-hmm. But by the 6th century BCE, there were 4 Greek sporting festivals. They were called the classical games. So the most important, or the one that grew to be the most important, was the Olympic Games held at Olympia. But then there was also the Pythian Games at Delphi, the Nemean Games at Nemea. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And the Isthmian, it's hard to say. I feel like I have a lisp. I already can't barely talk today, and now I have a lisp. The Isthmian Games held near Corinth. And then there were a lot of other similar games in Rome, Naples, Antioch, Alexandria, but the original and I think the most iconic and what became to be the most important was the Olympic Games at Olympia.
Yeah.
So the original 4-year interval, they actually used that for dating purposes. So like timeline dating. So an Olympiad was 4 years. I didn't know that. That's kind of like a little fun fact.
I know an Olympiad is 4 years.
Yeah.
It is like a time span, which is a weird thing, but.
So that's like the origin. And then there's the demise, and then there was a long time in between the modern. So the demise of the original Olympics was Greece lost its independence to Rome in the 2nd century BCE. And obviously, when you're taken over, support for that fell because the Romans had different views of the games than they did. So there were Roman gladiators, there were things like that, but they viewed it more as like a spectacle versus like the Grecian games were like they competitions.
Yeah.
Not like a spectacle.
It wasn't a showpiece thing.
Yeah. So the Romans almost looked at, from what I was reading, this isn't from the Olympic site anymore. This is from Britannica.
So still an accurate source.
Yes, hopefully.
Better than what we normally do.
We assume. The Romans looked down on it almost because, stripping naked to compete in public in these competitions, they thought was like degrading. But then they realized that there's political value in having the games, and
there's also military value because it was a lot of, it was almost like training for your soldiers and stuff too. So when Emperor Augustus, though, staged the games again, it was a temporary stadium, Circus Maximus in Rome. He brought it back, and then Emperor Nero, who's famous, I think there's a song about him. At least I learned growing up. I had a song that I memorized all the Roman emperors, and I would sing them. Just like the same as you sang the 13 colonies in 50 states. Yeah.
I had a song about the emperors as well.
Interesting.
If that tells you anything about me.
Did you make up this one?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't.
No, it's right. Okay, so remember when we probably had similar things growing up for the most part. Like we had these like plastic books almost that you had like a stylus and you tapped things and it made a sound. I had these like books that were like history books for kids.
Okay.
And you would like touch a certain point on the page and it sang a song. So this certain one was about the emperors and everything like that.
I feel like I've seen these, but I think it was my little brother's.
Okay.
But yeah, because he's closer in age.
You probably recognize it. So it was one of those. I had one about the Americas and what was eventually the 13 colonies and the 50 states. But then I also had like an ancient history one.
Okay.
So I had a song about the emperors when everyone else was also singing the 50 states. But anyways, so Emperor Nero kind of disgraced himself, and then he actually liked the festivals and the competitions in Greece, but he competed in it himself once, according to this written account, and he entered a chariot race, but fell off and lost, but then declared himself the winner anyway. And so I guess everyone just lost respect for it, for both him and the games. There. So there was a lot that went into the downfall of the games politically and everything like that. But it's funny that was mentioned as like also one of the reasons for the downfall.
He lost, but declared himself a winner. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So not only did like the Romans not want to participate, it was just, the Roman emperors trying to still please the Greeks and things. But it kind of just went down from there. So they were actually abolished eventually by Roman Emperor Theodosius first. Because of the pagan associations. So it was rumored to be started because of all the mythical, the gods, the Greek gods and everything like that. So eventually it was... not only did it have a downfall, but it was eventually abolished by Roman Emperor because of
religious reasons. Yeah.
So that gets us to, there was a massive break until 1894. Pierre de Coubertin had a plan to relaunch and revive the games. In 1896, the first games of the modern era were held in Athens, according to, this is back to the Olympic website. So I did not know this, though. The only other thing I have on, like, the history of the games is before the 1970s, so almost 100 years, 80 years there, the games were limited to only amateurs. But it sounds like nowadays it's open to all. Yeah. I didn't know that. I just assumed it was only amateurs because I remember hearing that.
No, it used to only be amateurs, which is why you wouldn't have, like, nowadays you have the NBA players go play it for their countries, and you have stuff like that. Now, there's a lot of
I didn't think about.
There's a lot of sports that don't really have a professional league like that. Like, I mean, swimming and gymnastics don't. You have college, and then you kind of, you have the Olympics. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, there's no NFL for swimming, I guess.
There's not like that same type thing. But for a long time it was amateurs, and that was kind of to keep, I think, the
like
competition better.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, because once professionals, of course, get into it, then it kind of takes over some sports. I don't think the U.S. has lost in basketball, has not won the gold. I think the U.S. has won the gold in basketball for like the past 30 years straight or something. Like it's kind of ridiculous because, you've got all these players that just go play. Some of them, we have there's a lot of European players and players from other country is in the NBA. Yeah. And sometimes they'll go play for their home countries and things, but sometimes they don't. It just kind of depends. So.
Yeah, I knew you could play for either your home country or resident country because actually at my company right now, there's one of the interns or something is playing, I forget which sport. Anyways, he's playing for his home country, not the United States, and I thought that was really cool. So everyone at the company celebrated. They did an article on him, and so I knew that happened.
You can also play for smaller countries. Some countries have ways to make you a citizen for just for the Olympics and kind of get around that kind of stuff so that people can compete. And that's kind of cool. It just kind of depends on how it.
I'm sure it also gives not only the country representation, but if you let's say you're an American citizen, it's probably pretty competitive. Yeah, I would assume.
Oh, I'm sure.
But if you can go and compete for another country, it gives you the opportunity to have that platform and compete.
Yeah.
If you don't qualify, well, I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know if that's how it actually works.
Yeah. So I believe there's 32 summer sports in the summer.
Okay.
Including, you talked about softball. We got basketball, boxing, several different types of gymnastics. Swimming is obviously a big one. Track and field events are big. My most fun thing usually to watch is I like watching gymnastics. That's fun to watch. I also like watching the whitewater. Basically, it's whitewater canoeing. I think it's the canoe slalom is what it's actually called. But they build a rapids course, and then they just go down the rapids course in a canoe, which is
sounds fun.
It's hilarious to watch. It's so ridiculous to watch, but it's so much fun. Sailing, they've got so many. Surfing is one of them. Yeah,
surfing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember the last time I watched the Olympics. No, I will see clips and things on social media. I know Cody. What is his last name? That singer, the pop singer from Australia, is now an Olympic swimmer. I saw him in concert, met him, took a picture with him at Worlds of Fun in Kansas City. He was performing there one day. Cody Simpson. Yeah.
Okay.
And now he's an Olympic swimmer.
That's cool.
For Australia, I believe is his home country.
Okay.
Anyways, that's about my extent of knowledge. Is a pop singer and what I see on social media. But the only thing I do have knowledge about, just because this was my sport growing up, was softball.
Okay.
So for a while, softball was in the Olympics, and then they took it out, and then now they finally got it back. At least it wasn't the last one. I would assume it's.
There's a lot of sports that come and go because golf has done that a couple times. There's several sports that come and go.
Yeah, and I was trying to look up different reasons. A lot of it is just funding, what gets the most views. And economic opportunities and lack of visibility is the official wording of that. But then I was like, there are so many, in my humble opinion, which is irrelevant because I don't do any of these sports and I'm not competitive in these sports. There's a lot of stupid ones. But then you take out softball and baseball.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not an Olympic coordinator.
Yeah.
So
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's partly money and how many people actually want to compete.
Yeah.
Because if
also, those are bigger events. It's not like one person competing in, one slalom or something. Yeah. It's like you have multiple teams. You have to have massive arenas, stadiums, and whatever. So
well, and also it's not something that you can just, basketball. You can play several games, over the course, but it's kind of the same way. It's you have to have a time span to be able to go through everybody and make sure that we actually figure out who's the best.
Yeah,
kind of like a bracket type thing. And you have to do the same thing with softball. Whereas like swimming, okay, you got 3 heats and then you run the final one, and then and then the winner's the winner, and it's done. Like there's not. It doesn't take the same amount of effort and time and like resources to do something like that. So I
totally get the resource aspect, but the visibility, when it said lack of visibility, I was like, okay.
Well, some of these sports, I don't know. Is this still in here? Because I was making nope, it's not. But yeah, there's sports that I've never heard of. Most of them I have. It surprises me that cricket is in here, but softball isn't. That's an interesting one.
But then when you think about what's popular worldwide,
cricket is popular in other countries. Yes.
Yes, and baseball's not. So, in some countries and Japan, and there are places where it's still really big.
And baseball is a sport. Well, I think it's softball and baseball. I think it's one combined.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of water polo is one that gets me. I don't really understand.
I do really like watching when I see clips on social media shot put because I used to do it. The backstory is I was in middle school track and field doing hurdles.
Okay.
I am not built to do hurdles. I told them not to put me on hurdles. They did anyway. I was terrible. Okay. I also fell a lot.
We talked about how both of us are klutzes.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you jump.
I used to be more athletic than I am now, but still. Like, I was not that athletic.
Yeah.
So they put me in shot put, and I did really well. And I was like, well, I told you from the beginning I'm not a runner, so I don't know what you want me to do. But
I don't even know how you do a hurdle. Like, how do you jump over a hurdle? Because I've
I can tell you because I didn't jump very well. I fell.
I've seen the hurdle. They're like up to like middle of my stomach, and I'm like, I don't even know how you do this.
It's hard.
Like,
no, I give massive props to a lot of the track and field events. Because I can't.
I mean, I give massive. It's
there were a lot of people that thought the same about shot put because it's very specific set of like muscle groups, and you have to have strong legs, and the technique is very precise.
Yeah.
That was one I was better at because of softball, I think.
Okay.
So if a lot of softball players have like massive legs because everything is like in your legs.
Yeah.
And shot put is kind of the same way. A lot of your strength comes from your legs.
Yeah.
It's not your arms.
No.
So I think I did better. I did way better on that. That one I actually like placed. Like I would get second place, and
nice.
There was one girl from our school that always beat me. We would always get first and second because she was like massively tall. Also played softball.
Okay.
But anyway, so I did much better at that, and I'm like, no, duh. Because I am not built to run hurdles. I'm built to throw a cannonball, apparently. Yeah. Anyways, that's my favorite to watch just because their like technique and their muscles, it's like the training for that. I guess that's with any sport, really, in the Olympics. But it's just so cool to watch because that's like one that I admire the strength it takes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting sports, and it's a lot of I enjoy watching it because a lot of these sports, it's something that you don't see except for this time. Like,
yeah, that's true.
It's there's very there's like several of these that's like I don't ever see really like a cycling track. I don't see anybody cycle on a cycling track. I think there's only one palindrome in the state of Missouri, which is what they use to cycle, and it's outside in St. Louis. So it's like there's not you don't see a lot of this stuff unless you're at a college and
and they have that
specific sport. We both went to Mizzou. Mizzou doesn't have a rowing team.
Yeah.
I don't know that they have a rowing team. So it's kind of things like that you don't ever really get to see. These Olympics are in Paris. They move every every couple of years, so that they or every year, I guess they move. They choose a new host city. That's always been I'm sure you've heard about that. That's always been a controversial thing because it costs so much to host the Olympics.
And when they host it in some places, doesn't it really affect the population too? And it's like, you build up all this wealth in this one event, but your country is like devastated.
Well, the problem is you have to have so much infrastructure to host these because there's so many people that come in. There's so many different types of sports that you have to build the stuff for all of them. That most countries, especially these small little countries that don't have this, they build it all up. Then as soon as the Olympics are over, everybody leaves and they have no use for them. They can't upkeep the buildings. They have no money to do it. So it's just, it all goes.
I've seen pictures. Now that you say that, I've seen pictures of abandoned Olympic complexes.
It all goes to trash. Which is why, some places, in 2028 is the next Summer Games. They're doing a North America one. So they're doing it a little differently. It's going to be hosted by the US, Mexico, and Canada all together.
Oh, that's interesting.
Instead of just being one host city, which is normal. Like usually you just go to one city. It's going to be
that also drives tourism to multiple different places.
That's right.
So.
Is that it or is that right? Or is it going to be in No, it's going to be in Los Angeles. The World Cup. The World Cup is going to be in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. So I think I got those mixed up. I think
it's still either way. It still drives tourism to multiple places.
It does. It drives tourism because people come to see all the stuff and everything, and it brings in it. But the problem is you end up spending more money than what you bring in. You always end up spending more money than what you bring in. This year it's in Paris, which Paris has most of the infrastructure already. It's a massive city, I
was going to say, if it's in Paris or Los Angeles or Toronto or places that have hosted before, I'm sure they have, it's still a massive outflux of money. Yeah. But at least you have the infrastructure.
Well, and
mostly in place, I would assume.
Like Paris and Los Angeles and stuff. I mean, you have to update some of the stadiums, but a lot of those they use a lot of the stadiums for soccer games or here we use football. We have football games or whatever. Yeah. So or football teams or whatever that host in these facilities. So it's kind of already there. You have to update some or build some new ones or something, but it's for the most part it's that. But the big thing with the Paris ones that has been going on as we're talking about it, again, the games haven't started yet. They will by the time this comes out, but they're hosting some swimming events in the Seine, which is the river that runs through the center of Paris, kind of like.
Is it clean?
Kind of like the Thames in London. No, it's not clean at all, and that's why this has been a problem here. So
why would they do that then?
They've talked for years about cleaning up the Seine, and they say that it is clean and safe enough to swim in now. In the 1920s, I believe, the Seine was closed. You weren't allowed to go into it. It was that toxic. They're like, yep, nope, not allowed to go into this river because it is that disgusting. And this recently, in the last couple of weeks, the mayor of Paris, the France's minister of sports, has both swam in the Seine to prove that it's clean enough. Now, the mayor was supposed to swim in the Seine a couple weeks ago, and there's a funny story to this. She announced when it was going to happen. So people in protest, they created websites to tell people when to take a crap in the Seine so that it would come down river and be in Paris at the time she was going to be swimming. So she ended up postponing this whole thing and then didn't announce when it was going to happen, and she just swam a couple days ago.
Yeah.
But the innovation of people is hilarious.
That seems to be a popular protest tactic for the French, because also the French farmers protested something recently, towards the beginning of the year. I don't remember what it was, but the farmers spread manure like over the highways and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember what they were protesting, but maybe that's a popular way to protest.
I guess. But yeah, it's gonna be the games in Paris, so it's gonna be. They put up the rings on the Eiffel Tower, which is kind of cool. There's a couple pictures of that you can find online.
Yeah.
But it's I enjoy the Olympics because, like I said, it's something that you don't get to see very often.
Yeah.
And it's just something different.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do like watching clips. Also, coming from a sports background, I get it. I get the amount of work it takes to get there. It is your whole life, and the amount of passion it takes. So I have a lot of admiration for the athletes.
Did you ever have like that as a goal? Or did you ever have a goal? With
I'm sure when I was little, because I wanted to play college softball and be a professional athlete. And when I was little, now I probably turned like 12 and realized that's not for me. Much to my mom's dismay, I was not destined to be an athlete. I think more so I wanted to, not necessarily the Olympics. I did want to play college softball, be a professional softball player. Like Monica Abbott and just all the iconic names that as a little girl growing up playing softball you love.
Okay.
And go see and go see them play and whatever. But for sure once I hit middle school and started to lose the passion, obviously that was not my goal anymore because you have to have the passion. You can't just have the talent. You can't just have the ability. You also have to be extremely passionate about it because it is your whole life when you're at that level. So, no, I absolutely did not have that.
Is there any sport that you think should or shouldn't be in the Olympics? I mean, you probably don't know all of them that are in it, but is there any sports that you can think of that should or shouldn't be in there?
I don't really know because I don't watch them that much, summer or winter. I was an advocate for getting softball back. So I worked for USA Softball for quite a while because they not only is USA Softball like the team, USA Softball is a brand as well. So there's USA Softball tournaments USA Gymnastics and stuff like that. Yeah, it's all So like I worked for USA Softball for a long time. So of course we were advocating to get it back in the Olympics and things like that. So I mean, obviously softball.
Yeah.
Besides that, I don't know enough of the sports to know what needs to be in it and not. Do you have a list of like what you wanted to be in it that's not in it?
I don't really know. There's so many sports in it. Like I said, there's 32 sports in it. I don't really know that many other sports that
Are there any on there that you would take out?
Not. There's some on here that I don't really know what they are.
Yeah. But then it goes back to funding and stuff.
Then it's like
if it's a small sport that there's only some, it doesn't cost a lot of money to put
then
on.
Who cares?
Yeah, then who cares if it's in it? If it lets people compete and be successful and
we've got the triathlon, you've got the pentathlon, you've got several marathons and things like that.
I think that's cool because the original Olympics were just a foot race.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool that kind of continues. Not that that's the reason why running sports continue, but I think that's a nice little.
I don't really understand why equestrian is in here. Sorry for all you horse people. I don't really understand why equestrian is in here because I don't necessarily see that as the person as much as the horse.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I know the rider has to be skilled.
You have to be skilled.
Yeah.
The one that I always think is funny to watch, if I ever see it on, I don't watch it a lot, is dressage. It's like the horses dancing around. Have you ever seen that?
Oh. You know what? I've only seen that because there's one that Snoop Dogg narrates.
Oh.
And he's like, the horse starts dancing. He's like, oh, the horse is crip walking. It's like the funniest video. I love when he narrates things. Oh my God, I love him. I love him anyway, but when I saw that video. So, yes, I do know what dressage is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I I guess because in the Olympics it's just called equestrian, and I think that's multiple things. I think dressage is included in that, or I believe it used to be. Fencing is an interesting one. Flag football is
oh, that's a weird one. I didn't know that was considered a real sport. I played that in like 5th grade.
So yeah, there's flag football league too, but
I didn't know that.
The only reason that I think it's because soccer is obviously football in the Olympics, because that's what most countries know it as, is instead of soccer. The reason that I don't think I don't think you can do American football in the Olympics.
Because we're really the only ones that do it like that, probably.
Well, we're the only ones that do it like that for the most part. And because you do have rugby in here.
Yeah, I like watching rugby. The men are pretty.
It's... Did you say the men are pretty?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, I don't know.
Their thighs are nice.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason that I can think of that you wouldn't have American football is you have like teams, like basketball and stuff, where you have to have a bracket to do it.
Yeah.
And you can't obviously play it every day.
Yeah, that's true.
And you only have 2 weeks. It's the Olympics. You only got 2 weeks and it's over.
Yeah, that's true.
So you couldn't do we got a game today and then in 2 days we got another game. You'd have so many people injured and not being able to do anything that it'd be ridiculous.
That takes so much stamina.
Yeah. And I know rugby is a lot of hitting, and it's a lot like American football. They're a lot alike.
Yeah, I've never watched a full rugby game though. I don't know if it's as long or
I don't know.
I know it's intense.
It's intense.
But I don't know how long it is.
I also people get hurt in rugby all the time, but I'm not trying to say that American football is beefier or whatever, but when you put pads on somebody, they're going to hit each other a little bit harder than when they're not wearing pads.
Yeah.
Like you're
less strategic about it and more just plowing.
Exactly. So yeah, there's gonna be a little more injury with, I feel like, like American football. Yeah. Because again,
you
that's
put
some
true.
pads.
I haven't seen a lot of contact type sports in the Olympics.
You put some pads on people, and you go.
Yeah.
But rugby is probably the only real big contact sport there is.
Interesting.
Oh, there's boxing. That's a contact sport.
Yeah.
I guess there's boxing.
I would say that ranks on the list of contact sports.
I don't. Yeah, there's boxing, karate, judo, and taekwondo. So there's several contact sports. Yeah, I guess on here. Yeah. So we're just idiots. That's all that is to it. Which is pretty normal for us.
It's pretty normal.
Yep. Anyway, I think it's time for facts.
Yeah.
Because why not? But anyway, what's your fun fact for this the?
Yeah. So it's about the Olympics.
Okay.
I'm on a roll, Kev. I'm on a roll. I actually stay on topic. So, although there were no women's events in the ancient Olympics, several women appear in the official list of Olympic victors as the owners of stables. So if there was a chariot that won, they would be listed as owner.
Oh, okay.
So they weren't competing, but they were listed in some of the official games. But in Sparta, girls and young women did practice and compete locally. But apart from Sparta, the contests for young Greek women were rare.
Okay.
And I didn't put this as my fun fact, so I don't remember exactly, but I think at one point it was punishable by death for women to compete and things. So,
which is just crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I thought it was really interesting that even though they couldn't compete, there were women listed as victors technically if they owned the horses or the chariot or sponsored the chariot or whatever. Yeah. What's your fun fact?
So, my fun fact goes back to the 1908 games in London. Okay. So, this whole thing was a cluster. It wasn't a cluster. It was, the games were fine, but there was one particular country that kind of effed the whole thing up, and it's Russia. And there's a reason that they did it. So, the games were on in the summer. It's whatever. And if you look at it, there's a total of 6. It says there's a total of 6. This is from Sports Illustrated, by the way. It says there's a total of 6 Russian athletes that competed. 2 of them taking medals in figure skating. The only other event they officially entered was shooting. This was back when the Olympics it was every 4 years and you did all the games at once, I believe. So,
okay.
You did summer and winter. It was all together as one thing. I think. I may be wrong on that, but this is
don't quote us on anything
so,
we say.
Anyway,
we've said it before, and we'll say it again.
Don't
use our podcast as a source of facts.
But anyway, the U.S. beat Great Britain in shooting. Russia was entered to compete, but Russians aren't anywhere on the list because it was held in July, on July 11th. Russians were going off the Julian calendar. And the Olympics were going off the Gregorian calendar. So the Russians didn't arrive until 12 days after they were supposed to be there.
That's ridiculous. That's like...
I think we've talked about this before, and I made this comment, but I couldn't remember exactly when it was. But you just don't use the same calendars.
It's totally calendars and measurements when different countries use different measurements, and then that affected something in space travel when they had one person was measuring in like centimeters and one was in inches, and then it messed up all these plans for this rocket. I don't remember the context of that, but yeah, anything like that, I'm like, gosh. What a mess.
Yeah, but I just think it's funny that
that's hilarious.
Somebody you're supposed to go to this big worldwide event and you just get the dates wrong.
Yeah. Like what would their reaction
by like 2 freaking weeks? Like it's not just
massive amount. It's not like one day.
Yeah, it's not like whoops,
you can't reschedule.
we were behind a day. Sorry guys, but no, you were 12 days late. Like
next time I miss an appointment or reschedule or something, I'd be like, sorry, I was using the Julian calendar. Oh, sorry, client. I was 10 minutes late to our meeting. I was using the Julian calendar.
Yeah. running on Russian time or something like that.
Running on Russian time.
Anyway,
on that note, that's all I had.
I think that's all we got for this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. We'll try to shout you out. And we shall talk to you guys next week.
Bye.